Today I'm going to talk to you about stress at work. It's just something that I think most people experience sometime in their lives. So according to the Health and Safety Executive, stress is an adverse reaction people have to excessive pressures or other types of demand placed on them. Some stress can be positive and generate a feeling of excitement and create an adrenaline rush. However, acute and chronic stress can take a heavy toll on mood and mental well-being and can feel inescapable. Stress is not a diagnosed illness. However, the pressures are excessive. If the pressures are excessive, sustained, or intense, this can lead to long-term mental and physical ill health. If stress is not managed properly, it can cause burnout, which is physical or mental exhaustion, anxiety, or depression. And it can also lead to an increase in the risk of physical illnesses such as heart disease, back pain, digestive disorders such as irritable bowel syndrome, or skin conditions. So what causes stress at work? Well, obviously, if too many conflicting demands can cause a stressful situation, even poor working conditions, little control over when and how a job is done, or decision making can create a stressful situation. Of course, lack of support or encouragement from managers or colleagues, bullying and conflict obviously creates an environment that can be quite toxic and stressful. Not having enough skill or training for the job can make you feel overwhelmed, and feeling unclear about your roles and responsibilities. Low trust and not feeling able to speak to others about your concerns or even just changes within an organisation can be stressful. So how do you spot the signs of stress? Individuals generally should look after their own health and well-being at work. If they're experiencing stress, they should talk to managers or colleagues as soon as they can. Managers should also look out for signs of stress amongst their colleagues. And those signs of stress can be poor concentration, finding it hard to make decisions, being irritable or short-tempered, feeling tearful, tiredness can be a factor as well, having low mood, and avoiding social events. If you spot the signs of stress, it can be helpful just to have an informal chat with a colleague or a manager, and this can help to understand how that person is feeling and get the support that they need. Getting help soon can prevent serious problems along the line. Think about what's causing the stress and talk to someone and get the support you need. So, how much does stress cost this country? Work-related stress is a major contributor to the sickness absence in the workplace. And I just want to run a poll if Joe can help me with that. I just want you to tell me how much you think it costs in replacement of staff, loss of production and sickness absence and increased accidents in the workplace. If you just want to vote. Could you show the results, Joe? Oh, well, it actually is over £5 million a year. Sorry, 5 billion, that is supposed to be pounds a year. So yeah, that's really a lot. And in terms of the number of working days that were lost, how many do you think were lost last year? If you can run the poll, please. And show the results. It's actually 17 million working days were lost. Again, that's a significant amount of days just because of stress and depression. And then the number of workers suffering from work-related stress and depression or anxiety, either new or long-standing in 2022, was in the region of 914,000 people suffering at any one time. So the question for myself as an employment lawyer is stress a disability? Can stress fall within the definition of disability under the Equality Act? The definition of disability is where a person has a physical or mental impairment, and that impairment has a substantial and long-term adverse effect on their ability to carry out normal day-to-day activities. Prior to the Equality Act, the Disability Discrimination Act required the mental illness to be clinically well recognised, and people suffering from stress, anxiety and depression and nervous debility were not entitled to bring a claim under the Disability Discrimination Act. That was subsequently amended to remove the requirement for the condition to be clinically well recognised. This means that a person with a mental impairment now only has to show that the impairment has a long-term adverse effect on their ability to carry out day-to-day activities, their normal day-to-day activities. And normal day-to-day activities will include shopping, having a conversation, using the telephone, watching television, or the ability to concentrate. Some work-related activities are considered day-to-day activities such as interacting with your colleagues, following instructions, preparing written documents, and keeping to a shift pattern. All of these activities could be affected by stress. Stress is often considered a symptom of circumstances and not a disability. However, it may result in or be a trigger of other underlying illnesses such as depressions, which may be impairments. Interestingly, stress is not excluded from the definition of disability under the Equality Act in the same way there's dependency on alcohol or nicotine is, or the dependence or tendency to set fires or steal, but none of those are disabilities. Most of the case law suggests that stress at work is not a disability. However, a recent case by a colleague of mine, the outcome was that stress was a disability. Mr. Webb, who was a client, suffered from stress, anxiety, and depression, and he produced an impact statement to the tribunal, and he said that his day-to-day activities of concentration and confidence was affected. With regards to concentration, Mr. Webb was riding his bike along the canal and clipped the overhead bridge, causing him to fall into the canal, which is most unfortunate. This is a route he'd ridden many times, but his concentration had been affected substantially on that day. And with regards to confidence, he didn't take care of his personal hygiene. His wife had to tell him to shower, clean his teeth, or change his clothes. And he didn't feel confident going into the supermarket. And often his wife would tell him just to go and sit in the car. He went to the doctors in February 2020 and was diagnosed with stress at work. And the tribunal actually found that he had a disability, which was stress, depression, and anxiety. So, Joe, if you can run the final poll, I just wanted to know which of these you think could be a claim that you could bring if you're suffering from stress. Okay, it's interesting. Nobody says unfair dismissal, which is probably the case, but people could be dismissed, and therefore you bring a claim for unfair dismissal. But yes, I'd probably try and run all of those claims if depending on the circumstances. Right, I'm just going to run a quick video. Sorry, I can't seem to find it. So, how many minutes have I got left? 2. Okay, I'll try and find it. No, I'll leave that. So that's my insight for today. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Judi. Does anybody have any questions for Judi? Annie?
Firstly, that was really interesting, Judi. I'm very much chimes in with my work on pain and presenteeism and the ability to work, that stress was a primary indicator that made people who are in pain, and this is normal joint pain. How many of those people that you see in stress do also have pain? Is that something you see a lot, or is just the stress at work the main thing they see, their main issue, or is it being correlated with other health issues as well?
Generally, it's correlated with other health issues, and people who are in pain obviously find it sometimes difficult to work, and that does create a stressful environment because they're having to go through maybe performance improvement plans, or or they're being threatened with their role because they're absent from work for a significant length of time. So yeah, they do. So there's interchangeable. Gordon.
So Judi, I'm interested because I had one nervous breakdown and a suicide in my time as a leader. I wonder, are you finding today that the companies are investing more in making sure their management know how to actually spot the signs, because when I was going through management training, nobody ever told you how to spot the signs of stress and overload. You had to use your own antenna if you had them. And it was really hard and difficult to deal with personally and subsequently for people people were working with when you had to intervene or try and help them or whatever. Do you see any sign of that changing?
I don't think there's much change. We still find that there are situations where even the HR managers just don't understand the situation or spot the signs. If you've got someone sat at their desk crying, 5 days a week, that's it's an obvious sign that there's something wrong, and that person should be
But
referred.
the stuff leads up to. No, I just wondered because I know the government is now sponsoring I can't remember what it's called now, but it's like a sort of first aid, mental first aider kind of first intervention type training.
Yeah,
I wasn't sure whether it was coming through the industries or not yet.
I'm not seeing much sign of that, unfortunately.
Right.